The handcuffs snapped shut at the corner market, all for trying to buy pasta. My mother just wanted to cook pasta and meatballs that afternoon. It was an ordinary hot day. I was in my law office in Westlake when the call came. Before the phone rang, before the humiliation spread online, my mother only wanted to shop. She left early, as always on Mondays, purse on her shoulder, sandals on her feet, carrying the quiet patience of someone who had learned to endure. She went to A1 Bargain Grocer where prices were lower. Retired now, but still careful with every penny. She nodded at the security guard, took a cart, and walked calmly toward the dry goods aisle. The store was busy at the end of the month, children crying, carts scraping, music humming through old speakers. Then everything shifted. Witnesses said it happened fast. A store employee whispered to the guard, who spoke into his radio. Minutes later, 2 police officers entered. One walked straight to her, without a word. He didn't ask her name or look in her bag, only rested his hand on his holster and barked, "Open that bag now." My mother froze, tried to explain she lived nearby, that she was a regular, but her voice was faint. The officer shouted again, "Are you going to cooperate or make this difficult?" Tears filled her eyes. The manager, Mr. Harrison, tall and smug, appeared. She's been seen here before, always suspicious. Today she tried to leave with 2 boxes of pasta without paying. A lie. Her small bag couldn't hold 2 boxes. She held one in her hand with the receipt folded inside her blouse, but no one cared. Phones came out, customers recording. A woman cried, "She didn't do anything." But the officer already had the cuffs out. My mother pleaded, "Please, I'm a retired librarian. This is a mistake." Her voice disappeared under the sound of steel locking. They led her through the aisles like a criminal. Her purse spilled, scattering her ID, hair clip, and a photo of me in school uniform. A young man shouted he knew her, that she taught his cousin, that this was racism. The officer told him to back off or face charges for interference. An investigation for a 6-8-year-old woman with high blood pressure. As if she were a threat. The phone rang. "Miss Johnson," our neighbor, gasped. "Ethan, your mother's been arrested at the market. Come quick." My chest froze. I ran, drove to the 2nd precinct, heart pounding. 9 years as a public defender. I had seen wrongful arrests, but nothing prepared me for my own mother. When I arrived, she was sitting on a bench, face swollen from crying, wrists red with cuff marks. An officer questioned her without even glancing at her. She looked up and whispered, "Ethan." In that moment, I understood the helplessness that so many live with daily. What no one there knew was who she really was. Her name is Dahlia Jones. She was born in the South End, daughter of a cleaning woman and factory worker, first in her family to finish high school. She earned her teaching certificate at night, cared for siblings in the mornings, tutored in the afternoons. She taught for 30 years in overcrowded classrooms, underpaid but steadfast. She believed teaching was more than subjects, it was about protecting children. She spent her life protecting others until that day when no one protected her. After retirement, her days slowed. Coffee, radio, volunteering, organizing book drives. Everyone in the neighborhood knew her. That afternoon, she wanted pasta and her medication. She put on her simple blue dress, the one she wore to union meetings, tied back her hair, slipped on sandals, and carried a crumpled list. At A1 Bargain, a young security guard trailed her, speaking into his radio. The cashier who knew her tried to intervene, but she was already marked. She hadn't even reached checkout when police arrived. "Stand over there. Show me your bag." She explained she hadn't paid yet. The manager's voice thundered, caught red-handed. The lie was firm enough to silence truth. The guard opened her bag, finding only a wallet, $15, and gum. Still, they cuffed her. She trembled with shame, eyes brimming, treated as guilty on sight. Outside, people gathered. "That's Mrs. Jones! She helped my sister!" someone shouted. Another begged the officers to release her, but they replied coldly, "We're following protocol." Protocol, a shield for prejudice. Her arms marked from the cuffs. She tried to adjust her blouse, but her hands shook. As they dragged her to the patrol car, she searched the crowd, hoping for kindness, but only saw cell phones recording and a smirking guard. At the precinct, the weight was unbearable. The room smelled of sweat and dust. The officer, taking her statement, stared at his phone, barely listening. She repeated softly, "I just wanted pasta." Meanwhile, outside, neighbors were already spreading the word. The story was moving faster than the officers realized. But inside, she sat small on the bench, clinging to dignity in a place that offered none. And I stood there, a son, a lawyer, torn between rage and despair, knowing this was only the beginning of something far larger, something that would not end quietly. The image of my mother sitting on a dirty bench, treated like a criminal, consumed my mind. When I arrived at the precinct, I saw her sitting on a bench, her head down, looking defeated. She, the woman who had raised me, who had always been strong, was now silent, as though all her worth had been erased. The officer looked at me, and before he could speak, I showed him my ID. Public defender, this woman is my mother. At that moment, everything began to change. The precinct was small and cramped, more like a waiting room than a place of justice. My mother sat against the wall, her eyes downcast. It was as if they had stolen not just her right to buy pasta, but her right to exist in peace. When I identified myself, the officer who had brought her straightened up, feigning surprise. "Ma'am, I didn't know she was your mother." I took a deep breath, controlled my anger, and calmly replied, "Did she have to be my mother for you to treat her with respect?" He remained silent, avoiding my gaze, pretending to focus on some random paper. I knelt before my mother, holding her trembling hands. She murmured, "Ethan, I just wanted to buy pasta. I just wanted to go home." I knew that look, the look of someone who had realized that in this environment, her word meant nothing. They had already made their decision. For a black, elderly, poor woman, the decision is always the same: guilty until proven innocent, and even then, still suspicious. I asked the officer to show me the report. They hadn't even started filling it out. They said they were waiting for the manager to bring the security footage. I crossed my arms and said, "Then we'll wait together." That's when I saw the security guard from the market in the corner of the room. He was leaning against the wall, talking on his phone and laughing, as if he was certain everything would be brushed aside, as if it were just another black woman being searched. That hurt more than anything. I walked over to him. "Do you have a name, sir?" "Yes, ma'am. And I have cameras too. It's all recorded." "Great. Then, let's see it." He recoiled, saying the manager would be there soon, and the video was already set aside. His arrogance reflected his belief that even if he was wrong, he'd be protected. It reminded me of so many other cases I'd seen. This time, however, it was my mother at the center of it all. The manager arrived minutes later, walking casually as if it were just another day. He tried to greet me with a smile, but I refused. "I want to see the footage." He opened his laptop. The video showed my mother entering the store, picking up a bag of pasta, and heading toward the checkout. That's it. No sign of her hiding anything, leaving without paying or acting suspiciously. I looked at him, and he lowered his eyes. "It was a misunderstanding," he said. My mother, sitting on the bench, raised her head. Hearing those words, I thought how easy it is for them to call what is actually a pattern, a mistake, a pattern that repeats everywhere. Bakery, market, store, bank. They don't ask, they judge. They don't listen, they arrest. The officer handling the case pulled me aside, trying to justify the situation, saying they were just following protocol. Protocol for what? For handcuffing an elderly woman who had committed no crime? He didn't answer, just looked at the floor. My mother on the other side began to cry, a soft, weary cry, not of fear, but of someone who had held on for too long. I took my cell phone, turned on the camera, and started recording.